I come from a poor family, yeah, yeah. We ain't never had a lot, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the Lord been good to us, yeah, yeah. Now we riding on the top, yeah, yeah, yeah. I come from a poor family, yeah, yeah. We ain't never had a lot.
Good morning, Richie.
Good morning, Ray Dog.
Ray Dog. I like it. Good morning, guys. We'd like to thank you for joining in today for our podcast on
Builder of all things. Welcome to the boat.
Welcome to the boat, guys. Guys, if you guys missed, guys and gals, if you missed the last podcast, we got some gems in there that Richie dropped all over the place. And so one of the highlights that I wanted to give out was how does Richie approach firing someone? And so I know that's a big topic, even for just a spectator, for myself, if you're not like a business owner. But I think if you are a business owner, it's really catered to you. Mm-hmm. Another thing, Richie, that I really enjoyed was the importance of diligence. So guys, and how that plays a part in Richie's business and his experiences growing up in the construction space, right? Mm-hmm. And so, guys, those are just two great things that I loved about that podcast. There's definitely more, but those are just the bait.
and it's an open door. Like the question faith is for everyone, right? If you have any questions about our faith, or if it's tied to anything, it's kind of a broad area where we can talk. We love to share at least our perspective on it. And when we dig into business, that is specifically for business owners. Mm-hmm. People that aspire to be a business owner, that are currently business owners and want to hear how we operate or what's our backdrop and our methods. We love to share and be an open door in that perspective. And then the last one is constructive. That's for all of our hard workers out there breaking a sweat. If they have anything, want to know ATN's ways, I'm here to give it. We want to give away whatever we know, and hopefully, we have something that could help them.
Yeah, awesome, Richie. So, guys, we're going to dive right into our first stream. Because we're on a boat.
We're on a boat.
Our first stream. So the first question, Richie, is how did you become a Christian?
Ooh, I love it. How did I become a Christian? That's a whole life story.
I know. You got to condense it, brother.
I got to condense it. I think the quick answer is I believe God chose me. I believe he chooses us, I guess, to summarize it. I don't think... As much as we think people make the choice, I think he chooses us from the beginning. Like when he says he formed us in our mother's womb, he already was forming us and just making a decision with selecting us. There's this kind of metaphor that I really love to share about my faith and how I became a Christian. It's many are called, but only few are chosen. And when I think of that, it's like a sign that says many are called, right? And there's a door that's wide open under that sign, and it's like we get this decision to walk in, and we're called to go in, but we kind of have this decision to go in or not. And so it's like some walk by and some are attracted to it and get pulled in and said, I want to see what this is all about. And but when you actually walk through that door and you turn around, there's a sign on the back that says you were chosen. So it's like, it's like, wait a minute. Okay. I was called, but it really didn't have a choice because I already knew I was coming in. So, it's kind of like my belief in Christianity. But when I became a Christian, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I always was. The shepherd calls a sheep, the sheep will know his voice. Right. So, I've always known that to be part of my life. Probably not the same story for everybody, but that's my story. Is I think my earliest experience was my first house fire. When I was 3 years old, I burnt our house down.
That's a story we gotta come back to.
Yeah, so 3 years old, I set our house on fire, and there was a crazy experience. And I'm gonna back up a little bit from that. Might have been a month, or I don't really know the time. I was so young, but I know before that, my mother used to sing songs to me with her guitar to put me to sleep. And I remember one night she was singing, she always sing like Jesus lullabies, right? To put me to sleep. Yeah. And I remember asking, who is this Jesus, And she would explain to me and about him, you know, if you ever wanted him to be in my life, just ask him. And I remember I rolled over to my pillow and didn't tell nobody, but I was like, Jesus, I want you in my life, you know. Like, you know, like I asked him at 3 years old to be a part of my life. And and then months or time a little bit later is when the house fire happened. And there's a space heater. We're in Illinois, it's cold, you know.
Sure,
old school space heater. I had put a book in there or something and it caught fire and hit the curtain. And make long story short, me and my baby brother Matt was 9 months old. We're both in this room stuck, door was locked, and there was a fire happening. And I ended up passing out because of the smoke. It was very strong. Chemicals were in there, and I basically, my heart stopped from not being able to breathe, you know. I had a respiratory attack, and boom, I was a flatliner. And at that moment, I experienced Jesus. I got to see Jesus when I was 3 years old, and a little bit different experience than a lot of people. And I don't really share this too much, but I think it's important to share that it started with me seeing him. And you know, I've had people ask, well, what did he look like? But I don't know, man. It was like a light. It was like I could see the form of a human being, but it was a light, and he was holding hands with a lot of people. I just remember feeling comforted and loved, but it was a crazy experience. And then I guess I came back to life in the ambulance. My heart, boom, came back. I remember floating over the ambulance and going in. I know this is crazy sound stuff, but this is a 3-year-old experience, and I cannot forget it. And ever since then, I've known Jesus in that experience, but I didn't really know the depths of him and who he was and what he did for us probably later in life, like mid-20s.
Sure, yeah.
So, you know, I've always had Jesus with me through high school. In college, when I'm drinking a beer, he was with me. You know, it's like, you know, he was with me through my high school days and college days, and you know, I was still in the world, you know, living my life, but didn't really understand what he did for me. But when I turned 27, I think was the game changer. You know, I'm raising 4 kids, married to my wife Tiffany, and I remember we used to go to church every Sunday. It was Tiffany's church, and Tiffany's grandpa was the pastor of this church. And I remember I never liked faking the funk, you know, and not being real about what I believed and things like that. So going into church, I really felt like I was, you know, like, wait a minute, I got, me and Tiffany like didn't have a good morning, and I don't want to go in there with this kind of feeling,
I feel you, bro.
know, like I don't want to even try to pretend to stand and sing songs. So I was having a hard time going into the church. And then her grandpa, bless his heart, I think he was in his 70s, came out to the car, because I just wouldn't go in. I was be outside, listen to music, and not pretend to be the church guy today, you know. Sure. So he came out, and I was like, oh no, he's gonna, you know, try to talk me into going into church, and I ain't doing it. Yeah. He knocked on the window, and I was like, out of respect, I'm gonna roll it down. But I still had his little attitude on my face, you know, and rolling it down. And the grandpa was like, the devil's a liar, Richie. And I remember at that moment, like, everything in my life where I felt like there was a lie, like a light shined on it, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. I've been lied to about a lot of things in my life. You know, I've noticed the enemy's presence in my life in a lot of different areas, and I was like, so what's the truth? You know, like, oh, what's the truth? And then it all it was weird. It was like all connected within this little moment, and I was like real dramatic. I went out, walked out the car. I was like, this is it. I'm giving my life to Jesus today. And so I ran into the church, and they're in the middle of something, but I didn't really care. I walked straight up to the altar, like, I'm giving my life today, so I don't know what to do, but today's the day. That's insane. Then, the pastor's like, all right, we're stopping church. We're going to take care of this dude, Richie. But to summarize it, I think from then, I think my Christianity started to, okay, I want to learn more about him, and biblically, I want to learn more about him in my life. How do I apply it? But yeah, in a summary, I've always been, I guess, in love with Jesus, but I think my Christianity started when I was like 27.
Man, how perfect the timing and that line was for you.
Oh man, and that's how I think God works in mysterious ways. You hear that a lot. It's like, yeah, there's a perfect timing for everything where God will bring somebody in your life. I mean, the whole Billy Graham story, like knowing that he was just trying to sneak in to see a pastor preach, but he couldn't get in because he was too young, and then there's a guy outside who cleans shoes who snuck him in. Like that guy and that timing.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how God works, and certain things you say or do, how God moves. Like we always think it's going to be in this crazy way that God will do things, but sometimes it's these little simple things.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's such a divine appointment, and just everything weaving in together to fit this one particular moment. So it's just crazy to think about, right? And so guys, just being obedient in what the Holy Spirit's telling you to do at that particular moment, just as Tiffany's grandpa came out, was telling him to go speak to Richie, and just that obedience brought out such a blessing in your life.
And he was such a pure-hearted individual that, coming from him as well. So I think his obedience just in his life, that it all came to me in one little sentence. I felt it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's such a sick sentence to come in and be like, yeah, this is the type of man, and this is the type of statement I need to make to this type of man.
Yep.
And it worked. And it goes back to the previous podcast where you talk about grace and pruning. So go check out that podcast, guys. Episode 2. But awesome stories, Richie. We're gonna head out to the second stream, which is business. All right, so we're gonna shift gears.
Business owners.
Yeah. How did ATN handle the epidemic in 2020 and COVID?
Wow. How did we handle it? I think just like everyone else, it was kind of like you're about to get hit by a bomb. Well, how do you respond, right? It's like, okay, shut down everything. Everyone's kind of panicking. I remember that. Everyone's probably got their own story in March 2020 when, the whole world shuts down. I remember giving my kids a text because I think I was just doing some research, and I text my kids. I'm like, hey, you guys better go get some toilet paper and stash the world about to shut down. And they're probably like, whatever. But they went out of obedience, and then the NBA shut down, and then it was just like, boom. Yeah. Everything just kind of crashed. But how did we handle it? Well, a couple things. I would hate to take any of the glory or credit, but God had us blessed with some jobs that were locked in that we didn't need to shut down because the homeowners weren't living there. So we're able to continue pace, and they were long jobs, had longevity to them. So that was a blessing in disguise. But I have a scripture I love to share. There's always a scripture background for my business owners. 2 Timothy 2 said, there's this partner that says, no soldier gets entangled in civilian pursuits, since his aim is to please the one who enlisted him. An athlete is not crowned unless he competes according to the rules. So what I like about that scripture is that, stay focused and follow the rules. So as COVID was happening, mandates were coming out, and last thing we want to do is cheat that to survive, right? And we want to think like that because it's coming from the government, this, and how can we trust? And I get it, I get there's probably a lot of things in there we probably could have did differently, but I believe in trusting the authority because God has rulership over the authority. Only thing I will not do is I won't sin if they ask me to. But if they're not asking me to sin, I'm going to obey as much as possible to follow the rules. And it follows up on that scripture. Think over what I say, for the Lord will give you understanding in everything. So he'll give you the insight as you go. So how we handled it basically is follow the rules, stay ahead of the game of following the rules. So I remember having subcontractors call me and like, oh, we're shutting down. I'm like, no, you don't need to. The law says this. We have a job not right now that you can come to. And I remember them texting me like 2 days later, Richie, thank you so much for educating us on this law. We're tell all our employees, because all the employees are like,
what's going to happen?
Well, they're like, I'm not going to work. It's zombie world out there.
Right. Well, that was,
Yeah, so we had to educate, and we had to put mandates in place, and we had to just follow the rules. And I think that was the most important thing for us, was just trying to follow suit with everything that's going on in the world with politics and, just in the mainland with the race issues that were happening.
Right.
With COVID. I mean, everything that was happening, I think no soldier gets entangled with these things. So what that means is just following suit, following rules, knowing that we have a purpose and we're just going to keep forward. So I think for us, the biggest thing was just being resourceful and following the rules, man, at the time. And I think God honored that and kept us busy and blessed us. And we weren't, thank God we didn't have to shut down. I know there's a lot of other businesses out there that had to pivot dramatically, had to shut down for a long time. And,
right.
But just constantly looking at the resources God provides. There were like numerical things that God put in place for us that I think because we're honoring the rules, he came through with things that helped us get through. So brought certain jobs, brought certain people, brought certain resources that helped us through it.
Right. And that's awesome because during the 2020, man, a lot of local businesses shut down, and it's super sad to think that some of these places that we've been going to, like food spots, the restaurant business got hit super bad. But man, it was a tough thing for a lot of people. That's people's livelihood too.
It is. Yeah. And then the best encouragement I can give is that everything has a season, and and everything happens for a reason. So it's hard to look at things and say shoulda, coulda, woulda, but but if something shuts down, and for us, I guess it's a little easier. We just have to trust, right? Trust God, and we're being in the stream. So it's another reason why I think God's very important in business, because if you don't have God in business, to me that's scary. I don't know, like in a situation like that, what I would do, and I don't even know how to encourage somebody without God, because when you get into a lifeline position, you have to hang on to your commander, right?
Right. Yeah.
And when the boat's going through a storm, you gotta call on the captain. So when you don't have God in business, I couldn't even imagine like what people were going through.
The first thing you mentioned, Richie, about that question was integrity. And guys, I'm telling you, episode 2, we talked about integrity as well. Integrity is one of the biggest things that ATN focuses on, and I think that's one of the reasons of its huge success, locally and nationally. But the second thing too was the second thing I wanted to mention about that, Richie, was that these Bible verses that you're shouting out, guys, it's not for just Christians only. For business owners, these are great guides to being successful in anything in life and business. And so, you don't have to be a Christian or a follower to read the Word. I mean, there's great stuff in there, great stories, great values.
That's a very good point. Knowing that you don't have to be a Christian just to follow authorities, but when I know that God is ordained all these authorities, good or bad, for whatever reason, kind of like going back to Moses, and he actually, Pharaoh, even though he was, had his hardened heart, he was there for the reason. He had to be there for the reason, right? So even good or bad, God places these people. Just wait till the storm's over. And we're all kind of seeing the clouds clear now. So it's just one of those storms that hit, and, just knowing where and when to get on the boat. Right.
I hope this season has built up your resiliency and, as I was telling Richie, your tenacity, and just made you a stronger person. And like Richie said, you just have to hope for better things, and we never know what's going to happen next. It could catapult you. It could lead you to another better and bigger thing. And so that great encouragement, Richie. Thank you for that. And we're gonna head to the third stream, which is construction.
Here we go.
Construction. How is ATN handling the price increase on wood and materials? Oh man, anything price increase. Because Richie, you know me, I look at camera equipment all the time, and I'm like, man, sometimes they raise prices for no reason. I'm like, oh man, what's going on? So how do you handle that?
I don't know the whole story behind the raising of the wood prices. When I say I don't know the whole story, I hear a lot of reasons why it's happening, but I don't know which one is true. So whatever the case may be, materials are getting super expensive here in Hawaii and across the nation. Obviously, I'm seeing memes everywhere.
Can you tell me like what price range or how much it's going up?
I mean,
just to give a perspective.
Right now, I think we're about 50%. Raise. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, plywood that was $35 is $70 now. 2x4s that were seriously? $5 are $10 now. You know, it's 50%, and it's supposed to raise another 30%. So, you know, how we're handling it. Well, I think the best way to answer this is every person in construction, business owners. This is for business owners, but anybody even getting into renovating, so homeowners too, you know, always do your research. So I remember since we started ATN, I'd always walk through Home Depot and look at prices, constantly, just watching the prices. And so being in tune with what's happening as a business owner, always pay attention to, you know, how long things take to get to the island, especially living here in Hawaii. You know, you got to pay attention. If things take 6 to 8 weeks, you need to know what those things are and which vendors take how long they take. And then looking at material prices, always study, you know, what flooring cost is, always study what tiles are, and knowing all these prices I think is always just essential for any business, period. But why I share that is when a time comes when prices do raise, you know, you'll be ahead of the game. You'll already have the insight, say, wait a minute, there's an increase here. You're watching the market, you know, you're understanding something's happening here. So paying attention to the world, paying attention to your market, I think is very important to know how to not really how to handle these things, but being aware of this so you know when you got to do something about it. So number one is just be aware. Number two, how we're handling it is making sure that you know, we understand the math and communicate it as best as possible. So educating homeowners is, like, I guess my biggest advice is understand what's happening, learn about it, and then educate homeowners. Communicate it. What we're doing is we're honoring all our contracts in place right now. We're not going to go tell the homeowners because the wood went up, you got to pay more. That's not fair. It's not part of contract. We're going to honor our current contracts. It is what it is. And we will take a punch, you know, in certain areas. But I believe being on the boat, God will bless and honor our decision to do that. And we're not going to communicate that to the homeowner like, oh, you know, we're taking a hit right now, but we're going to do it for you, you know. Let
me pause there real quick, Richie, because I think that's such a huge what do you call it? It's such a great value to not implement, but to do. I mean, to have, because, like you said, it's gonna lead you down a terrible path if you go the other route. Like what you said, like hey, we gotta tell the homeowners, hey guys, prices are going up, we gotta charge you more or something. But what goes through your mind when you make that decision?
I think for me, it's experience of knowing God always comes through, so I'm not worried. But it took me years to get to that. I can't say that to your young business owner. Just have faith, you know. It really
so practical.
It really took years of stress until the last minute, and he comes through. Stress until the last minute, and then finally there's a pattern. Like, wait a minute, he always comes through, you know. So it's finally like, okay, it's just I got to do my part. Like the horse has prepare the horse for battle, but victory is of the Lord's. It's the same attitude that it sounds like a punch right now, but the stream is still going, right? So you know, we're moving, the stream's going, God's got more fruit down there to take care of us. So it's I think it's very important to honor contracts, but communicate your new contracts coming forward. So very important communication right now. That's what we're in the process of doing, is just saying, you know, and it's not like, what I always hate about this kind of situation is I don't want to make it sound like a sales pitch, right? Like, you got to sign within 15 days so we can purchase material. And it just sounds a little sales pitch. So,
that's
you know,
a tough spot.
But be honest about that, you know, and that's what I'm doing right now is, and our team is just sharing with homeowners, look, we're not trying to, you know, push you or make a decision, but we only can have 15 days at a time to honor a proposal we send out because the market is so out of whack right now. Luckily for all of us, it's all over the news, so it's not like an unknown thing, right? It's luckily, but it's everyone's aware right now. So that's an advantage we have as contractors. But communication is very important. Basically, educating the homeowner that the proposal only has a 15-day turnaround is what we're doing. Number two is we're putting in an escalation clause into our contracts. Basically, what that does is identifies the price of the market today, and if it raises, there will be then we are able to charge the homeowner for the raise of the wood because we've communicated it from the beginning and it's inside of our contract. So that's very important to do, is now prepare your contracts for the influx of the material cost. How do you do that? Email us. We'll email you an escalation clause contract sample. We have one. So that'd be a first step. But we reach out to companies like Hansador, and we get them to send us an estimate or an invoice for all the current wood products that we buy, from 2x4s all the way to 4x4s to plywood. And we attach that as a PDF to our proposal so homeowners can see the date stamp and the material cost to date. So if it happens to go up, then they understand where the cost was. So they're able to see it clearly. It's not like we didn't know what it was on April 20th. We have it printed out. We have it put a part of our proposal. And last but not least, we have also in our escalation clause is if the full project goes over 5%, they have the right to terminate, and we get paid up to date, because we don't want a homeowner be in a place of contract to say, man, the wood's just going so crazy. Now I can't afford this anymore. So they have the right, to cancel contract or terminate contract. So
such a cool, so
it has to be beneficial for both parties. But education is very important. And I think last but not least is understand your numbers. Like, what is it really doing to your cost? When you're doing your bids. So all contractors out there, make sure they spend an extra amount of time sharpening their pencil of what it's happening with your cost, because you don't want to. What I'm scared of is contractors not understanding the what's happening with the cost, and they're overcharging homeowners now. So it's doing the math for us. A full project typically is raising about 3 to 5%. Which can be a lot for a bigger project, but it's not raising 20%, even though the material is raising that much, or wood in particular. The full project's not raising that much, but it is raising probably about 5%. So homeowners, what I would say is prepare your projects to be probably 5 to 7% more expensive than what you're typically used to.
For this particular season.
Particular season, and it could get another 5% in another, watching what happens with the wood. So some people that got some renovations in dodged some bullets when it comes to building brand new homes. But please call us if you want to get some price checks on some things, or call Hansador, your local wood manufacturing stores or suppliers, and they can help you understand the cost too. But it's a serious situation, but make sure your contractors, so homeowners, make sure your contractors can provide you a material cost check before you start construction, so they don't try to scam you later for some more money.
Right. So guys, communication to the homeowners is very important, and I think one of the things that homeowners and just customers in general want is transparency. So just to be truthful to your customers. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this podcast. It's Wednesday morning. We're here at the shop. Woo! We got a coffee and then ready to start the day. Guys, please share this with your husbands, your wives, your wife. Your kids, your dogs, your pets. We'd love for you to share it to your friends.
And I would love to give a shout out to my boy Bobby Real Montgomery. Bobby Real is He's a Christian hip hop artist. He's the one that provided us and blessed us with the song and the intro and the outro that you hear for every podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a song.
It's gonna be featured in a film coming up, releasing soon. Yeah. So Bobby, I know him from military days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I served with him for 4 years on a ship, and a really good friend of mine's. Always been a strong backbone in the faith. Just that was one of my darkest periods. You know, military is crazy, and just having someone like that in my life was huge. So big shout outs to Bobby Real Montgomery. You should check him out on all his music streams from Spotify to iTunes. He has some really cool music. So
shout out to Bobby Real.
Bobby Real.
Ooh. All right, guys. So that's it for this Wednesday's podcast on Builder of All Things. Have a good one, guys.
Yeah. All right, Ray.
All right, Richie.
We ain't never had a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.